Applications for 2023 for the National Student Financial Aid Scheme have opened, and they opened today. The online application was redesigned to accommodate those that can use popular social media platforms to apply. These channels will enable applicants to track or cancel applications, which was normally done via the web. We're joined by Asive Dlanjwa, spokesperson for the South African Union of Students. Thank you for your time this afternoon. We understand that the application process itself has been simplified and the questions asked are easier to understand by the public. From the feedback that you have gotten so far since this process was opened earlier this morning, is that the case?
Good afternoon, as a studio, and to your viewers. We are yet to establish exactly the extent to which the usability of the system has been improved. Obviously, it went online this morning. We have since asked our members across the country and the various institutions to be able to gather feedback for us and to be able to understand it. We gather this feedback because we will be having a meeting with NSFAS early next week, where we will seek to understand also the system much better, but also give them the feedback based on what would have been the experience of students between now and our meeting. So we are hoping, obviously, we have noted some of the usability functions which have been announced by the minister, which seek to or supposedly will improve the usability and the experience of our students. But we are obviously yet to establish the extent to which that it will actually improve that usability and the experience for our students.
Fair enough. What is the meeting next week looking like in terms of the student body or student formation unions stance in terms of what's at stake, especially for those who are gaining entry for the first time at institutions of higher learning?
We will meet, as I have said already, with the leadership of NSFAS, including but not limited to their CEO and also COO. I think that the nature of the meeting is that obviously which is probably unfortunate, we often have a lot of misgivings as it pertains to NSFAS being able to efficiently and effectively roll out the funding to students, particularly to our students. So this will range from one, like for instance, you will remember that last year the system suffered glitches for a good few days, and the system was down. It could not take certain traffic. Number one. Number two, there were certain discrepancies in terms of the information that it was able to receive. Sometimes it would lock the students out before having submitted certain supplementary documents. So there are various issues in terms of the application process that which we had an issue with. So these are some of the things that we'll try and hash out in the meeting, and to see the extent to which NSFAS has been able to deal with these things this year. And then obviously, very critical to that, number one will be the feedback that would have gotten from the students, but also, obviously, as the minister announced a few changes or other augmentations to the application and application tracking and cancellation system or rather process, we have not yet had a meeting. We would have hoped they would have probably brought us on board even before going live, which they did not do. So we will seek to understand intricately what does it mean. The other questions that are asked by the students, for instance, that I can tell you we've already received was for students that were with their applications were not processed last year, either because they were missing documents or something. A lot of them also due to systematic issues. Are those students also required to apply this year? All of those things, these are things that we need to get to the bottom of and understand. And then also what we need to understand from NSFAS, the minister did announce that there would be a program to assist the students that come from more of the isolated communities in terms of network and access to certain resources and gadgets, etc. We need to understand what actually is that mechanism, what is that a program that they will be rolling out, and what does it mean tangibly speaking, and what is the time frame, when will they be getting to the students of the poor and the working class in the rural communities, in our townships, etc. And what is the plan also to work with other stakeholders of society, such as high schools. One of the things we recommended to NSFAS last year was that they needed to work with high schools because this is where the students are. You would have thought that they would have been already working with high schools and would be doing applications at high school, but that's not what is happening. So this is one of the recommendations that we had put to them this year for the 2023 application and academic year. So we will understand as that been incorporated into the strategy which they will be using to reach the marginalized communities, etc. So those are some of the things that we'll be trying to get out. And then obviously we have also other, as I've said, misgivings generally about some things that are happening at NSFAS. We appreciate that there's also an investigation that is ongoing regarding corruption and malfeasance. We still also have certain, in fact, we have regarding the issue of the National Skills Fund, our bid that it's not with NSFAS, but obviously the department will also form part of that meeting. And we need to understand the whole funding regime, as it were, and be able to hash out absolutely every possible hindrance or impediment that could impede in terms of access to funding for our students for the 2023 academic year.
Just before we let you go, right, NSFAS has indicated that they will roll out a student accommodation portal that will ensure efficiency in areas including grading and accreditation of accommodation, costs paying of private accommodation providers, amongst other measures. How confident are you about this announcement?
Sorry about that. We had a summit with NSFAS. I think this must have been about a few months back, where they officially proposed the new regime as it pertains to student accommodation, etc. That's one of the things that we also want to finally get. I think in principle we agreed with NSFAS that we needed to improve. The accommodation system, especially as it pertains to it being able to provide for students that are living in private student accommodations. However, we are not yet, as we sit here, we do not yet have what will be the roadmap, and we don't have any, I don't want to say confidence, but we have not yet been given assurances as to how is the system going to work, what is going to be the implications on the students, on institutions, etc. All we know is that it's going to be centralized from application for residences, to allocation of beds, and to the payment of that accommodation, etc. So that is something we will seek to understand. So I think if it is rolled out in the manner in which we hope it would, which it really has to be an effective and an efficient manner, we would not have a problem with. Obviously, as we will be concerned that it's a huge undertaking. It's a multi-billion rand undertaking that is going to affect and have many stakeholders that are going to have to be involved. We are not confident to the extent to which all those stakeholders will be able to work seamlessly. Why are we concerned also about this is that the application, the processing of applications and the funding of students is not really a hard undertaking. This is something that has been happening since the inception of NSFAS. Albeit that it was decentralized then and now it has been centralized. But since the centralization of that application and funding process, I think it was in 2017, up until today, that system has not been able to operate adequately, effectively, and efficiently. So we are obviously concerned about adding on to that another multi-billion rand component to it when we have not been able to perfect this one. So we don't want to obviously put the cart before the horse or seem pessimistic, but based on the track record of NSFAS in its ability to work efficiently and effectively in the execution of their mandate, we are concerned that we might have huge challenges, and these are some of the things that we want to understand more. And in the event that we are not able to agree or be satisfied and be confident that this will be able to roll out without any hindrances, then obviously we are going to have a problem with that, and we'll have to do something about that. Another component that was announced by the minister, which would seek to, I suppose at a principal level, seek to improve the experience of students in terms of their funding and the allocation of their allowances, would be the introduction of the MasterCard. Since the announcement yesterday, there has been a range of responses to that. There are students that and sectors of, or rather sections of the sector that are welcoming to that idea, but also there has been a significant chunk of students and stakeholders that are not necessarily open to that. So we need to understand that when we meet also with the NSFAS team, what is going to happen, how is it going to work, and what are its implications. And then we'll also have to engage, as we have started, in fact, our stakeholders, particularly our members as students, as to what is their feel and understanding of that MasterCard in terms of payment of those allowances. So those are all things that we have to look into, so that at the very least before November or December, we're able to clean and hash these things out, so that we do not have another repeat of the 2021 academic application process, 2020, 2019, 2018. I mean,
fair enough. Asive, if you just allow me to join you there, and maybe a final thought from you. How worried is the union about late payment, even though applications open on the 28th of September? Some students find themselves without the money that they need when the academic year starts.
We are concerned about that, although unfortunately for us, what often happens when we deal with the issue of the payment of allowances to students or the payment of monies to students, we find a little bit of games that are being played between NSFAS and the department, because NSFAS will say, we have completed the process of application, we have completed the process of assessment and processing the applicants, and we have given, and we are ready to give funding decisions. But the problem is that the department has not yet allocated us the money. So we don't want to go on. So this one is a little bit tricky, because it also involves Treasury and the Department of Higher Education and NSFAS. So I suppose they would probably have to have that sort of a tripartite meeting to understand exactly, is everyone ready? Because what we saw with this current academic year, NSFAS said we were ready, but Treasury said we're not ready, we did not have the money. And hence it took almost a month of delay, and where students could not register, they were at the gates of the institutions, and the institutions could not register them because NSFAS was not giving them their funding statuses. Although we knew, and NSFAS had told us, no, the majority of them, if not all of them, actually qualify, but the problem is that we cannot tell them they are funded up until we can give a guarantee from the Treasury that in fact they're going to pay the money. So that one is a little bit of a different ball game, because it involves other stakeholders over and above the functions and the responsibility of NSFAS.
Asive, I beg your pardon, Dlanjwa speaks for the South African Union of Students. Thank you for your time this afternoon.